What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 1 of the Filmmakers Flow. I am your host, Denzel, and this is the podcast where we talk about all things related to the filmmaking industry. So in this first episode, I'm going to kind of just break down what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about things on this podcast from editing, directing, independent filmmaking, cinematography. I'm going to be just touching a large range of things that I feel are important to us as independent filmmakers, myself being one. Whether you have a specific role that you play in the industry, or like myself, you might be someone who wears multiple hats. But I just really like talking about filmmaking stuff, and I've had so many different I've played so many different roles in the industry that I can really get in the weeds on certain aspects, whether it's gear or lighting or editing programs and shortcuts or directing techniques or writing scripts or making budgets. Producing side of things, I've pretty much done it all. But I wanted to make a forum or a spot where I could freely just kind of talk about the filmmaking industry as a whole. So I'm super excited. I am super excited to be doing this podcast. But so in this first episode, talk a little bit about me. My name is Denzel. I am a professional editor, full time. I do documentary films full time. I also am an independent filmmaker, so I do my own projects. So on this channel, if you are a follower, a subscriber on my channel of Images by Zell, you've seen different projects I've done, from weddings to music videos and things like that. I also am a narrative filmmaker, so I have another channel called IBZ Films, where I post more of my narrative scripted content. So that's things like short films, feature films. I don't have any up there yet, but that eventually down the line. Series. I have a series I'm working on right now called Humanities, which will be dropping there. I'll be dropping the pilot on there once I get that finished. But I feel like I'm all over the place right now. But essentially, that's a brief little introduction. And I probably will go more into depth on my background as we go with the podcast. But I've been working in video production as a whole since 2007. So that puts us at just under 20. So we'll put that at 18 years almost that I've been done. About 18 years I've been doing this. So I really enjoy it. Like I said, I've done weddings, music videos, all those things. So I have a wide range of experience and have dabbled in pretty much every aspect of video production, from commercial work to narrative work. So so I really wanted to kind of just start off talking about something that I've recently learned as an independent filmmaker, and that's like the importance of having different roles filled. If you're like me, you wear a lot of hats. And most independent filmmakers do generally anyway. Even filmmakers who are on the big budgets wear multiple hats. You see a lot of directors who are also producers or also writers. So it's not abnormal for someone to have, multiple roles. I think traditionally the Hollywood system is kind of like your director directs, and then you have someone who's doing camera, and that's a cinematographer. But then a cinematographer will have somebody who's doing handling the lights, and that's the gaffer. Or they'll have someone who's doing camera, and that's the cam op. But a lot of times you see people from even within all of these different fields or different positions, there will be people who are stepping into another role as well. And I think that's a lot more common today. If you go way back, like I'm talking about like early when filmmaking first began, you will see a lot of that, people wearing multiple hats, actors, directors, being all melded into one. But I think it kind of later on in the 20th century, I would say, and probably more, maybe a little bit sooner, but I would say the 20th century is kind of like, I think, where we get the traditional framework for what we really consider the norm for the Hollywood system way of doing filmmaking. But all that to say, on an independent level, we definitely end up having to wear a lot of hats. A lot of times budget puts that into play. And I've referenced it before, but the series I'm working on is called Humanities. And it's going to be, eventually I probably will try to do distribution and get it either on Tubi or Amazon Prime, something like that. But the pilot I shot, I'm going to be releasing that on YouTube initially. But so basically I would fill the role of a showrunner, because I'm basically going to be running that role as like the person who's over the show. So I'll be, kind of under that title of showrunner. But I also directed this first episode. And I had someone come on board to help me to write the script. So one of my good friends, Trey Foster, he wrote the script, but I outlined it because it was a story concept I had come up with. And I remember shooting this little, I think of like a minute, probably like a little 60-second little concept teaser that sparked Humanities. And it's like a sci-fi drama, thriller drama, I guess I'll kind of say, but it's like a sci-fi drama. And I'll talk more about the show as a whole. I'll try to do like another video talking about that as a whole. But anyway, so I'm the showrunner, so I'm always having my hand involved in this. And eventually my plan is to have multiple directors and things. But for this first one, I wanted to set the tone, lay out the framework for the world, the universe. So I was the producer, director, and I also acted in it. I was also one of the main actors. So I guess really the main actor, the lead character on this, because it was one of those things where it was like, I could have cast someone, but when I shot the teaser, I used myself, cause sometimes it's easier to do when you have all the gear, which I have pretty much all the gear that I need to shoot anything at any given moment. And I had an idea, and then I said, well, I'm here. Let me just put myself on camera. And I've been on camera before. I've done YouTube for years, and I've been on television shows locally before. So it's not like it's abnormal for me to be in front of the camera. So I was like, you know what? I can just shoot this real quick and just do it and get it done. But I started to visualize the actual episode in this series. I visualized when I went to think about it, I just could not get past myself. So I was like, I thought about it for a little bit. So it'd be so much easier on me if I just cast somebody else. I said, it doesn't have to be me. I can replace myself. It doesn't have to match the teaser. The teaser is just a concept that's, just to set the stage for me to visualize it, and for other people who I want to ask to be a part of it. But I was like, you know what? I really see myself doing this. So I wanted to go ahead and take the swing. I had on this. I've done it like on a smaller scale, like doing sketch comedy, things like that on YouTube. Because like I said, I've done so many different things. But on this level, when I have a full crew and people, I actually on set other than just me, or we're just doing something like simple. I was like, I've never directed and acted in that capacity before. So that was cool. It was definitely different because I had to also, I was playing off my other lead actress in this. And it was funny because it's like, I'm in the scene. And I've heard people say this before. Like, I think that I've heard Ben Affleck talk about it, and this other director, actors. He's just the most well-known person who does it that comes to mind. But I know Spike Lee has done it before, but it's one of those things where it was like, it's funny because I'm in the scene and it's like I'm having to direct myself internally, direct my co-star as I'm doing it. So it was like such an interesting experience to be on that, to play that role, and also being someone who does not direct that often. Because a little background on me, my start in filmmaking narrative content really is as a cinematographer. I got plenty of other video production experience before that, but like when I really started transitioning into narrative, it was really as a when I went to film school, I went in focusing on cinematography and wanted to be a DP. So I was like, that was my thing. I was known for that. That's the skill I honed for all of all of my time in college, and then when I got out of college, doing freelance things, I was like, I'm a cinematographer, a lighting guy. That's my focus. So I think I always have a love for cinematography. But then at some point I transitioned into editing. So I'm like dancing around being a director. So it's one of those things where it's like I have directed things before, and like I've never done it. So it was not completely foreign to me, but it was a thing of like, I don't do this professionally, like all the time. Like from a professional level, the directing I usually do would be if I'm doing a commercial or like simple stuff like a music video, as from like a videographer. Videographers tend to also be directors essentially, because you're the person with the camera, and also if you got some type of on-screen talent, you have to tell them what to do. So I've done those things, but I mean, like, and people who are involved listening and watching this podcast, you get what I'm saying, like the narrative realm where you have a crew, like I'm talking about making movies and narrative television shows. That type of thing is different to me. So I was like, yeah, so this is different. So not only I don't direct that often, so I'm still having to train that muscle as a director. Now I'm also acting, which is, again, professionally not something I ever do. Very rare. I mean, the most I've done acting, I would say on a high, not even high, but just in professional-ish level would be voice acting. So being on screen, again, it's not foreign to me, but again, what I mean is like, I don't show up people don't hire me on set in commercials and in movies to be an actor. I'm usually behind the screen, behind the camera. So that was different, but I thought it would be cool. Cause I was like, you know what? A lot of filmmakers who I admire have done it. I know it's not impossible to do. So I thought it would be a good experience. And I wanted to set the tone. So I didn't want to let go of the director reins on this first episode either. Cause I could have done that. I could have cast myself, because as a showrunner and producer, and then, executive producer of the show, I have final say on everything, even when I bring in other directors. So I'm like, I can very easily cast myself and then hire another director. But I wanted to go for the challenge. But yeah, all that long-winded way of saying, a lot of times we will have multiple hats. Maybe not as many hats as I decided to have. But you will have multiple hats. But two roles that I did not fill, because I literally could not have filled one of them, and the other one I'm glad I didn't, because the project would not have been as successful if I tried to do it myself, was producing and social media. So like I said before, I technically am the producer of the show too, but I have another friend of mine, Mojo, who he's just way better at producing than I am. He's just very good at it. And like, I don't even know, I feel like I still don't believe him when he says he likes to do it. Cause I'm like, who actually likes producing? Like, I'm talking about not like to say, oh, I'm the producer on this project because it sounds cool. I mean, actually doing the mundane work that it takes to be a producer, and a good one at that. But he's very good. He's also a super talented cinematographer and director himself. But he's just really good at producing. Like, he's good at getting people into, kicking people into gear, kicking me into gear. And I needed that, because honestly, without him, this project would not have even gotten done, because I would have kept procrastinating. I would have kept saying, oh, I can't do it right now because of this. Oh, I gotta, wait and get that, yada, yada, yada. He was like, pick a day, and who's your actors? So what's this? Your script is done. Okay, cool. You got the gear. Like, he was like, okay, what gear do we need? You have the gear. Okay, cool. Who's the DP that we're going to get? Who's the cinematographer? Stuff like that. So he was integral in that. And even day of, he played another role as a AD, assistant director. Being, if you don't know what that is, the first AD is not an assistant to the director. They are basically the one who's helping to drive the ship. They're like the first mate of a ship. If you have a captain, you got your first mate. They're the ones that's helping, making sure that this thing is running, so that way the director can focus on crafting this story and getting this thing done, this project done. The producer's the one that's making sure that everything is running like it needs to run for the director to do their job. And in terms of like pre and shoot day, then afterwards, just other things the producers have to do as well. But all that's to say is I'm so thankful for him because he helped me out, and that's somebody who's super important. So this is kind of a thing of like, you got to know what your strengths are and where you're going to need the most help and what your weaknesses are, because then you can fill those with talented people, or people who are just willing to help you and who are willing to learn. Even if they don't know how to do it, you might be able to show them what to do, and then they can help you. That's super important. The other important role that we have filled was social media, which was, again, my producer Mojo's idea, because I never thought about it, to have someone there for BTS and social media content. And that was my wife, Mikayla. She's on YouTube a lot. We've done a lot of things. She's actually been on my channel before, talking about different things. And yeah, she did social media and behind the scenes. So basically what she did, she took a camera and got still shots of us as we were doing stuff, prepping, shooting on set. And then she was getting social media content. So she would get little clips recording that we could post on social media. And she was actually like making posts while we were shooting too, like on our story. We made a social media account. She was basically running it, managing it for that day, and posting things as we were shooting. And we did interviews with cast and crew, and she handled all of that as well. So that was very important. Another role that's very important, I said two, but another person that's important to have if you can, is a script supervisor. That tends to get overlooked. And a script supervisor is more than just someone who does continuity. They do a lot more than that. But at the bare minimum, if you can have somebody there for continuity purposes, or at least just to be there to help with the script, and another person to have eyes on it, they do so much more than that. It's not even that simple. But Trey Foster, who was the writer, he also came and played that script supervisor role for us day of as well. So it's just good to have people who can be there to fill certain roles, because it's super important. I might as well just go ahead down the line. I was going to shout out two important ones, but everybody was important, to be honest with you. We also have Sage Thomas, who was my DP on day of shooting, who came in and did her thing, added so much to it. So it's so important to have people who can play these important parts, because, you know, like I said, as independent filmmakers, a lot of times we will fill multiple roles and multiple hats, but you got to know, like I said, your strengths and weaknesses can help you determine what parts you can and can't do. And then also what you are literally doing on set that may take you away from something else. So a lot of us, you know, in the industry will probably also have a job that we work within, hopefully. You know, it's not the case for everybody, but I know for some people who are independent filmmakers, they have completely different jobs that have nothing to do with the industry. But if you are someone who is fortunate enough to be able to also work in the industry while you're doing independent stuff as well, I feel like it's a really good thing. But you normally will have jobs that we're filling specific roles. Like I said, professionally, my day-to-day within the filmmaking industry, I am an editor. And I'm staff, I'm not freelance. So I am staff at a company working as an editor for them, doing films, feature documentary films. I still do freelance as well. So I do a lot of videography work. So that will be weddings and other things like that. So wherever you find yourself, I'm sure a lot of you can relate. You do something that you are skilled at within the field, but then when you do your independent work, you are the filmmaker, you are the director, the writer, whatever it may be, the person who's driving that project. I bring that up to say sometimes you're able to use whatever your skill set is to help you get your project done and possibly save money. So for example, one of the things that's going to help a lot for me on this project is I don't have to go hire a separate editor. I am an editor professionally, so I can edit this project myself. So that's somewhere where I can cut costs and not have to pay someone else. But that's post-production. On set, like I said before, I am a trained DP. I'm a trained cinematographer. So I could have shot this and been the DP and the director. The problem is I also was the actor. So I already took that off. That's one arm I have. That's like, okay, well, I obviously can't be the cinematographer and also do a decent job of acting and directing. That's just not going to happen. So that's one thing. Even though I have a skill set, it's useless to me that day because I decided I wanted to act. If I wasn't acting in the project, it probably would have been a lot more possible for me to, oh, just lost the light. That's all good. Should have charged it before I did this, but I did not. I was trying to see if I can get by. But anyway, I probably could have pulled that off, but like I said, I'm in the scene. I can't DP and be in the scene. Well, I guess you could, but not on the high level. Like, again, if you're doing like a little small thing for yourself, you can set your lights up and get in the frame and do all that stuff. I've done a lot. Just kind of what I'm doing now in the sense I've set my light up and put the camera here in front of me, but it's different. It's not the same. When you have a whole, can you imagine that, what that would look like if you show up to a set and the director is acting in the project and also is shooting? Like, there's nobody behind the camera and they just set the camera up. That would be so odd for not only the crew, but the actors. Because it's like our director is hopping up and messing with the lights and adjusting it. Now, hey, if you've done that before, let me know in the comments. More power to you. I know that it's technically possible to do that, but my thing is like, man, that must be such a, in terms of time, it must be so crazy. And there's so much you're thinking about. You're most likely going to miss something. So because, you know, as a director on the day of, you really want to only have to focus about directing, you know, ideally. And again, budgets don't always allow, because we're on a lot of us are shooting on no budgets. Like, I had no budget for this project, really. I mean, yeah, I mean, I bought money. I paid for lunches and I paid for people's gas to get there. And that was pretty much it, you know. So it wasn't like I had all this high budget to hire all these roles. So thankfully people were willing to help me. Shout out to Donna Dean, who was the production designer. Basically showed up day of, because I didn't give her any prep time before our producer got her to come in, and she came in and helped, filled in. I didn't, you know, hopped in and was a big help as well. So it was good to be able to have people who were willing to help and believe in the vision. And it was a good enough story. It was a good story. It was a good story concept. Every time I pitched it to people, they loved it. And I teamed up with Trey. He wrote an amazing script. We talked about it, roughed it out, and I went and made an outline scene breakdown, and he took it and ran with it and came out with an amazing script. So I'm definitely excited for people to see it. Still have a little bit of shooting left to do on it. We did most of it. The rest of what I shoot, I probably will end up doing myself, but it's just me in those scenes. So it's one of those things where I'm not like burning people's time up and it's like I'm not really talking to people, so it's a little bit easier for me to pull off doing it by myself. We'll see. I might still get somebody in if I'm able to swing it. But yeah, I'm excited for people to see that project. But yeah, I just want to talk about that. Something that I just learned recently, how important it is. I am a person who has tried to do as many things by themselves as possible, and I realized how important it is to have help. And filmmaking is a collaborative process. And even though I still did wear a lot of hats, I'm the showrunner, producer, director. I acted in it, and I'm also going to be editing the project. So there's a lot there, and also a colorist. So that's another thing there. So, but it's not like that's abnormal. We do that, independent filmmakers. Thankfully, I have all of those skill sets. To some of my skills are higher than others. So very heavily, I'm leaning on my editing ability. That's probably my strongest skill set right now. And in the other ones, I was like, okay, whatever I didn't pull off successfully, if my acting was a little bit off or my directing wasn't there all the way, hopefully I got enough, good content that I'm able to do what I need to do in the edit. But yeah, so, lean on whatever your strength is. Know what you got to do, lay out the plan and do your best. All right, so I'm just going to introduce you to a segment we're going to be doing on this podcast, and that's going to be question of the week. So the question for this week is, what is one role on a film set you have never done before? And if you had to fill it at least once, what would it be? So for example, for me, I have never been a first AC on a film set. I've been a gaffer, I've been a key grip, I've been a cinematographer and a cam op, but I've never first AC'd ever. So that is what I'm picking for mine. It's going to be a role I've never filled in a film set, but if I had to fill it at least one time, I would try first AC and see how that was, because I've never done it. I've had first ACs and they're phenomenal first ACs, but I've never actually done that role on a film set. So yeah. Anyways, guys, that is it for this week. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Hopefully you got something out of it. And make sure that you go out there and shoot something. No excuses. Let's get it.